Hello and welcome to the second installment of the Earth Wars Saga Galactic War development log. I was going to say blog, but apparently it didn't come out. It was supposed to be log, not blog. Um, Today I'd like to talk to you about what kind of game I am actually designing, what it is intended as, and simply put, it is meant as a casual game. Something you play play with beer and pretzels. You don't need to be exact. You should not be chasing the meta because I'm going to try and not have one. Just when a new fleet comes out, it's going to mesh with the others as seamlessly as I possibly can make it. I will not be putting out new ships just to encourage you to buy them and throw away the old ones. I want you to keep your ships. Some examples are as angles need not be 100% exact. So when you're making a turn, you can be slightly off foresight, for example. And foresight is when your ship is pointed directly at the target because you have a weapon that is bore, which can only fire straight ahead. A ship can turn roughly 22.5 degrees or half of 45. Doesn't have to be 100% exact, just as long as it's close. Abuses still should not be tolerated, though. Some people may take advantage of this just to win a game that means largely nothing. Just calmly confront the individual if it happens, and if an argument ensues, use the d6 to determine who's right and just accept the results. If he doesn't want to do that, then you just know you should never play that person again. Ranges should still be measured as accurately as possible, however, because it is a big part of the game. Whether or not you're in sensor range or in long range is something that needs to be exact, because it can result in some penalties and bonuses and stuff like that. I did not achieve the all I'd hoped to last month. I had issues with the PFA sticking to the printer, or sticking to the print, sorry, and this caused a great deal of misprints, and I was busy trying to figure that out. Turns out I needed some lubricant for the PFA. Of course, the cat's here. Still managed to get most of the UNE destroyers designed. Actually, at the time of writing the script, I wasn't finished the Nevny. I am now. That would be all of them then. There's some problems with these little guys. This is a fast destroyer, as some of you who have seen this before can recognize. I've had some problems with it breaking, particularly in the wings and in the forward boom. This model is actually too big. I'm going to have to reprint it once I figure out a solution. Is what's most likely going to be is I have to go back into the Blender file and thicken the two or the three problematic areas, so that way they will print properly at the proper scale. Till then, I'm just going to use these. Probably won't put them up for sale when the rest go up unless I've fixed it. I did get the cruisers finished. Here's a little Blucher, heavy cruiser. Sorry about my shaking hands. And a Svetlana light cruiser. She didn't turn out as wide as the last time I drew her, but she's still there. Obviously, I did not get any Akoran ships done. I still have, at the time of this recording, the patrol vessels, and I'm in the middle of designing the Thionville scout cruiser. Andromedan points are not finished either because I've been lazy. I'm already one fleet or two fleets ahead, so that's okay. It's not like I'm going to be delaying production or testing of this fleet because it's not time to actually start testing it. Speaking of testing, playtesting has hit a snafu. Too many absences from too many players, and too many times they gave up on turn 2, which means I have no viable results except for one game. I got one game in for the last month, and I'm not exactly happy about this. Right now, everybody's on vacation anyway, and that's fine. But once they get back, I'm expecting better attendance. Or I'm just going to have to look for another playtest team. Beyond some difficulties and problems and hiccups that I've had, which none are really truly that serious, is that I have for you today how some of the technology works in the universe. And today I'm going to talk about jump engines, or wormhole generators, as they're more colloquially called in the Earth Wars Saga. A wormhole, you can transverse, or you can you can go across dozens of light years in a matter of seconds. There are two types of wormholes. There's a system wormhole, which is stable and immobile, well, other than the fact that it orbits the star that it's in. And then there are standard wormholes, which are semi-stable, in that you can overload your wormhole generator and something really catastrophic can happen when you cross that threshold. System wormholes are located in permanent orbit around the star, as I said before. When they close, they're just not visible. You can detect them because they still generate a gravity well. Very few races can form a system wormhole. The Terran wormholes were all formed by the Andromedans when they occupied their space. The Acorn Empire would still be able to use them, but the technology kind of fell by the wayside as they basically made all the ones that they needed to make. And that was 1,000 years ago. They are extremely important to interstellar commerce because not every ship in the galaxy is equipped with a wormhole generator. Not to mention that opening up a standard wormhole in another system can set off some alarms, cause some problems, maybe even an accident. Generally, warships use the wormhole generators, and when they're doing a jump like that, it is with hostile intent. They quite often do practice wormhole jumps, but they inform the other system that they're coming, so that way nothing happens. The wormholes can be destroyed, the stable ones. They have been, even in the Earth Core and War. I'll explain that naming convention one day. I'm not going to get into it here because it gets a little complicated. It is highly illegal to do so. Even if you are at war with another race and you're just trying to deny them use of the system wormhole, the rest of the galaxy doesn't look kindly on it, even if it's in your own defense. You also don't need a wormhole generator to use a system wormhole. You just send out a particular beam. I have not decided what that beam is, and it actually triggers the wormhole to open. And it can be held open by that beam for as long as necessary, as long as the ship using the beam doesn't cross the threshold into the wormhole. Then it shuts within a few seconds. Most ships can use a standard wormhole. The only ones that can't are things like boats. And yeah, I know it's a naval term, but it's basically a small craft meant to travel around the system or just operate in nearby space. They aren't hardened for the gravitic, I guess twisting is the word we need to look for, that goes on inside the wormhole. There is actually an instance in one of the books I'm writing where the HMS Vancouver, piloted or commanded by Captain Kristen LeBlanc, took her very damaged ship, like it was seriously going to lose the bow, through a wormhole, and it twisted the bow so badly it could not be repaired, and they had to cut it off. And of course, they would attach a bow of a semi-completed Alpha class ship to bring her back into the fight as fast as possible, but that is neither here nor there. Standard wormholes are a little bit more sensitive, in that they're a lot more sensitive. If you commit to a jump, your wormhole generator, which does not work entirely in the realm of physics, because wormholes aren't in the realm of physics, so there can be a power draw as you cross the threshold, because you don't want one closing around your ship. So it takes more and more energy the closer you get to it to actually maintain the wormhole without it collapsing in your face. If there is a power surge for any reason, the wormhole generator draws that power surge, and your calculations for the jump are now totally wrong, and it basically moves randomly in the universe. There's been no recorded evidence of these sort of jumps being catastrophic, because when it happens, nobody gets a message from them. They're gone. They're in between galaxies, and with no way home, because the wormhole generator almost certainly burns out, and they're very difficult to repair. It is easier to replace one on a ship than it is to actually fix it. You also can't jump within a certain range, depending on your level of technology and understanding of how wormholes work, of a gravity well. So a star, a planet, a moon, something like that, right? This actually came up in the histories of the history of the galaxy in the second edition book, and a wormhole opened by the Acorans was thought to be the same as everybody else. The Commonwealth had no reason to believe that the Acorans would be able to jump any closer to the planet than they could, because all the wormhole generators, they basically reached the plateau of their understanding. They learned very fast that it is not true, because they thought the Acorans couldn't jump to as close as 300,000 kilometers to a planet, that their ships were in bulk orbiting, right? Just doing their thing that you do in orbit. You're either in the stations or you're orbiting around the planet. Your crew is on leave. And then the Acorans jumped in at 60,000 kilometers and just savaged the entire fleet. It was an absolute it was a massacre. In the planned third book of my novels, the fortress carrier, the Enterprise, is trying to open a wormhole. This large, massive ship it's 23 kilometers long. They're trying to open a wormhole with the same generator that everybody else uses, not realizing that this is a very bad idea. And they end up having a misjump, and they end up getting propelled all the way across the Corran territory. Cat's trying to interfere. Now, of course, there are ways you can mitigate the randomness of things, because the wormholes, they don't necessarily open where you want them to either, right? Or in the direction you want them to. It depends on your calculations before you open the wormholes, and there are dozens of things that can actually interfere with it. For instance, the Terran star, Sol, emits too many... That was the cat. She's been trying to do that for a little bit now. The Terran star emits too many tachyons, and tachyons interfere with wormhole formation. You can't open one inside the Terran system except out by the orbit of Pluto or in the shadow of a gas giant. A scout ship, on the other hand, can actually mitigate a lot of the risks involved by actually being in the system you're going to and returning information back to you about the particulars of space at that time, the gravitational eddies, particle densities, yada yada yada. Science, lots of science, and it allows the jump to be much more accurate than what it would be. But I think I've prattled on for long enough. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.